सो हाय गाइस एंड वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। आप सभी का स्वागत है। आज हम लोग एक बहुत ही कंट्रोवर्शियल टॉपिक पर टच करने वाले हैं जो बहुत से बार्सा फैंस कहते हैं कि वो आज तक का सबसे कंट्रोवर्शियल टॉपिक रहा है। एंड इट्स नॉट अबाउट नेमार इट्स अबाउट वन ऑफ आवर मोस्ट, आई वुड से exactly the most loved, but I would say possibly the most loved player of the late 90s. His name was Luis Figo. Now I know the moment I say Luis Figo आपके मन में एक आता है and that word is pick, क्योंकि इसका अगर हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन करूंगा तो वो बहुत गंदा लगेगा। तो the word is pick. Now you would think okay Luis Figo कोई ऐसे क्लब गया होगा against their fans wishes and इसलिए fans उसको hate देते होंगे because he was most loved. You're partially right. He went to a club, he went against maybe the fans wishes, but he went for his own. So there's but ऐसा क्या ब्रूटल ट्रीटमेंट मिला लुइस फिगो कि पिग्स हेड फेंक दिया था। एंड देयर वाज नॉट जस्ट पिग्स हेड व्हिच वाज थ्रोन एट द पिच, देयर वाज इवन बॉटल्स बीइंग थ्रोन एट हिम, एंड नॉट जस्ट नॉर्मल बॉटल्स प्लास्टिक, दीज वर बियर बॉटल्स, पूरे कांच की बॉटल्स फेंकी गए थे उस बंदे पे। सो एग्जैक्टली लुइस फिगो गए कहाँ थे कि जो इतना एंगर कर दिया लोगों को, या उन्होंने कुछ भड़काऊ भाषण दिया था? नहीं, भड़काऊ भाषण तो नहीं, लेकिन वो एक ऐसे क्लब के पास चले गए जो बार्सा फैंस सबसे ज्यादा नफरत करते हैं, एंड दैट क्लब वाज नन अदर देन रियल मैड्रिड। Now you would be thinking, oh, the fans' anger is justified. Yes, it was presumably justified, but क्या रीजंस थे कि इतना भड़कना हुआ फैंस का कि उन्होंने पिग हेड फेंका? एंड लुइस फिगो की क्या स्टोरी रही है, ये सब आज हम इस वीडियो में जानेंगे। तो लुइस फिगो बार्सिलोना के सबसे बेस्ट प्लेयर थे इन द लेट 90s। पेप ग्वार्डियोला ने लुइस फिगो डॉक्यूमेंट्री में कहा है कि व्हेन द गोइंग गेट्स टफ, लुइस फिगो गेट्स गोइंग, मेनी प्लेयर्स स्ट्रगल विद दैट। ये उनके वर्ड्स थे इन लुइस फिगोस डॉक्यूमेंट्री। लुइस फिगो हमेशा अपने टीममेट से कहते थे कि मुझे बॉल दो, मैं जादू करके दिखाऊंगा, जस्ट लाइक व्हाट मेसी यूज्ड टू डू फॉर अस। सो ही वाज लिटरली लाइक द 90s वर्जन ऑफ मेसी, जो वहां पे जैसे वो खेलते थे। एंड वो लुइस फिगो कमाल के प्लेयर थे। तो लुइस फिगो बार्सिलोना में आए थे फ्रॉम स्पोर्टिंग लिस्बन इन व्हाट वाज कंसिडर्ड एज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट साइनिंग्स ऑफ एफसी बार्सिलोना हैज एवर मेड। एंड जब उन्होंने उस प्लेयर को साइन किया, एक बंदा सीधा जॉन क्राइफ के रूम में गया और उन्होंने कहा कि हु द हेल डिड यू साइन, मीनिंग दिस गाय इज सो गुड, none other than Pep Guardiola, because he was very close with Luis Figo. He was one of his good friends, and even Luis Figo in his own documentary said कि Pep Guardiola was one of my closest friends, and वो लोग बहुत जगह साथ में जाते थे, they used to share rooms and all, they were very close together. तो ये तो लुइस फिगो के बारे में था। एंड लुइस फिगो व्हेन ही वाज एट बार्सिलोना इन हिज फर्स्ट सीजन, ही won us the double of La Liga and Copa del Rey, something which even the great Johan Cruyff as a coach couldn't do it. Van Gaal's tenureship landed as the first double in nearly, I don't know, maybe 20, 50 years. And Barcelona as a club during that era won more La Liga titles than they had done in the first 30, 40 years in existence since the La Liga was introduced. Now that was big. And for this, the Dream Team and Van Gaal's team was important in achieving that success. So problem क्या हुई? Well, problem ज़्यादा नहीं हुई because Luis Figo was not just a player, he was even a model. Because Luis Figo ने एक इंटरव्यू में ये कहा था कि बार्सिलोना इज नॉट जस्ट अ क्लब, इट्स मोर देन अ क्लब. It was the source of freedom for Catalans who used to speak in their own language during the Franco's era. Now, Franco's era was very suppressive. It used to suppress clubs, especially Basque and more so on Catalans. Speaking Catalan was banned, and many people used to speak in Catalan, cheer in Catalan at Camp Nou, which was very prominent during the Franco era. So even Luis Figo mentioned this, and he got lots of love from Barca fans. And when Barcelona won almost, I think, about this second or third La Liga in 2 3 years, Luis Figo in a victory parade. I wouldn't say it was exactly a victory parade, but it was at a place wherein he chanted "Blancos Colones Felices Campeones," which was loosely translated "Real Madrid bastards salute the champions." Perfect elements for someone who is who knows inside club in and out, for someone who is chanting at Real Madrid. He's like, okay, he's ours. But there was one problem. At the start of the century, Luis Figo का contract खत्म हो रहा था. So naturally, all the big clubs got excited because Barca का best player का contract खत्म हो रहा है, we will definitely go for it. But Luis Figo was like, okay, I will sign the contract and all. But the problem at Barcelona presented was there was elections going on in the club. Now the front runner for these elections was Joan Gaspard, who was the club's vice president. Who was, in my opinion, one of the most imbalanced presidents I've ever read about. So naturally, Luis Figo wanted कि अब मैं अपना कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नेगोशिएट करूं आई मस्ट गेट अ मच बेटर सैलरी which was fair enough. Every player wants an increased salary because they feel they are putting in great performances. So that was exactly what Luis Figo also wanted. It was fair enough, but there was a problem. Away about in the Spanish capital of Madrid, there were also elections going on. Lorenzo Sanz, who was the current Real Madrid president, he had a year left on his presidency, but he said, I am going to announce elections. Was this possibly one of the greatest move by Lorenzo Sanz or one of the most, I would say, the most stupidest? I don't know. But Lorenzo Sanz was confident because two Champions League in 3 years under his presidency, nobody could touch him. But there was one man who had a different idea of Real Madrid. They say Real Madrid is the biggest club in Europe. This man had envisaged it, but he said, like, Real Madrid is not as big as we think. Who said this? None other than Florentino Perez. Yes. Florentino Perez was a rich businessman who had done his civil engineering, and he was going to stand in the elections opposing Lorenzo Sanz. Now, you might think, okay, who is this? A businessman who has no idea of football? What he's going to do? Standing against Lorenzo Sanz, possibly till then the greatest president in Real Madrid history? No. He needs to do something bold to win the elections. This is what Florentino Perez and everybody around him knew. So what did he do? He signed none. He said to the players, or I wouldn't say players. He said to the fans, "I will sign Luis Figo." But he did not said I will sign in Luis Figo. He actually asked the fans in a survey, "Which is the player you want to see more in a Madrid jersey?" The answer was simple: Luis Figo. So basically, his presidency was around Luis Figo. He designed a very clever little plan. He said that if I become the president of Real Madrid, Luis Figo will be a player for Real Madrid. Big statement. Now, obviously, you would dismiss that because it's crazy, right? It was almost like Raul going to FC Barcelona at that time. It's impossible. Lorenzo Sanz even said this. He dismissed it. He said he knows nothing about football. But guess what happened? Some days he said that if he doesn't come to play at Real Madrid, I will personally finance the socios money for the whole season. That was a big bold statement. Now, how did he exactly do? Well, it was pretty simple. He triggered Luis Figo's release clause, which was at certain 50-60 euro million, which was one of the highest back then. It was a huge amount. So now what happens when you trigger a release clause for a player whose contract has expired at the end of the season? Luis Figo would have to sign for Barcelona for a certain amount of money. But for Barcelona to sign him, they would actually have to pay him money. Back then, the rules were a bit complicated. So it was a big of tussle between Figo going to FC Barcelona, going to Real Madrid. Eventually, he ended up at Real Madrid because Florentino Perez won the elections and he had even signed a pre-contract which stated that if Florentino Perez becomes the president of Real Madrid, Luis Figo, as a player, would wear the Madrid shirt. It happened. And although he didn't come in the year 2000 because he was injured or suspended, the year 2002, he was there at Camp Nou. And boy, oh boy, I haven't seen Camp Nou this violent since I don't know for how long. Everybody was shouting certain insults, which is totally normal because as a great Real Madrid sporting director, Jorge Vandano said, the hate that a player gets from the fans is equal to the love that they had once for the player. It was pretty simple as they said it. So now when you've got a player who was so loved by Barca fans, when he came to the stadium, boy, it was carnage. Figo's name was booed like hell. Bottles were thrown at him. anything they could have got. Some they still permitted to not throw rocks on the pitch, but Barca fans said if they had the permission, they would have thrown rocks. They said he's a mercenary, he's a traitor. So many names being called out on him, and this, but eventually the happy ending for Barca fans was that they didn't lose the Clasico, they went to win the Clasico, and every time Luis Figo had the ball, they cheered him as hard as they could. And Barca fans still they have a quote which was translated in English: "We hate you now, for we loved you then." And it's one of the most poisonous transfers in between in the history of the two clubs, which definitely poisoned Barca for quite a while because Barca's president John Gaspard were absolutely nuts when he lost on Luis Figo, and he was like, "Okay, I'm going to make some signings," but the signings which were made were very bad. It didn't help until and unless John Laporta came into the picture. He became the club's president in 2003, and he started to change things. So, as they say, rest is history. Luis Figo leaving Barcelona in one of the most, uh, I would say, not in so best of the times for the club was not the thing that they would have wanted. But in the end, FC Barcelona managed to sign Ronaldinho, who shaped our club, who proved to be a much, I would say, a game changer for us. With all due respect to Figo, he was a great player, but in Barca fans' eyes, he is the traitor. He would remain the pig. And till this day, if they see him somewhere near the Camp Nou, I'm sure they will kill him. So, with this, I'd like to end the video. Thank you for watching, and do stay in for further more videos. Do subscribe my channel and let me know in the comments what do you think about Luis Figo, and do let me know if I have missed something. Thank you very much.